The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 197. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of outstanding women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com to check out amazing blog articles and our killer resources. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing woman on today. She is a mentor, a podcaster, and she's also a senior leader, and I'm just really excited to have her on and share her story with us on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Aliya Janjua. Aliya, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheena. I'm really happy to be on the show. My name is Aliya Janjua, and I am from San Francisco, California. I was born and raised here. I'm a mom of 3 beautiful children, and as you mentioned in the intro, I am a senior leader for a fintech company here out of San Francisco, and I'm also a mentor. I mentor several women through organizations called Tech Women, which is affiliated with the U.S. State Department, and also another nonprofit organization called She Can. My mentee is in Cambodia, and she's going to be coming here for her university. And then the third thing is I have my own podcast show, just like yours, and it's called Confessions of Successful Asian Women.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Aliya, what's your cultural background?
I was born and raised in San Francisco. My family is originally from Pakistan, and my dad came to San Francisco in 1970, and he went back to Pakistan and married my mom, and they both had an arranged marriage, and she came here in 1975.
Thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Well, I just listened to the commencement speech by Sheryl Sandberg, and she delivered the commencement speech to Cal, which is University of California, Berkeley. And her speech moved me on so many levels. And I want to read one quote, and I encourage all of your listeners to read her commencement speech. You can find it online. But one quote really resonated with me, which is, "You'll be defined not just by what you achieve, but by how you survive." And this speaks about resilience. And a lot of times we define a lot of success by the great wins. And what really defines us is our failures and our ability to pick ourselves up and to keep going.
I love that quote because, especially for women in Asian cultures, everything's measured to how well you do, or, the house you live in, the job you have, not realizing that we can also, like you said, our past failures, the obstacles that we overcome, that makes us stronger and be the person that we are today. So, that's a great quote that you mentioned. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Self-confidence, I'm always reminded by Winston Churchill's quote, which is, "Confidence is where you can walk from one failure to the next without any loss of enthusiasm." And for me, self-confidence is to be able to pick yourself up and to keep going and to really fully embrace yourself. We all have an inner critic in our heads, and a lot of times that inner critic overtakes us. And, I think self-confidence is a journey. It takes a long time, and sometimes it's a lifelong journey, because you're always going to find yourself in situations where you're not an expert, or you are in a crisis, or you find yourself in a new situation. And it takes a couple of different fails to really get yourself going. And for me, self-confidence is being able to tackle those failures and to keep moving, to keep going. And this is my own mantra in life because, I've had many setbacks in my career, in my professional career, in my personal life. And for me, the thing that keeps me going is that, you just have to keep trying and accept yourself for all your faults and your strengths.
Awesome. Well, I love that definition. And, I've always heard that saying, if you fall down, 7 times, you get back up 8. And that's what it is, right? Just keep on going. And there's so many great examples of people who just kept on going regardless of how many times they fell down or how many times they failed. So great definition. And Aliya, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
So I was one of three girls. I'm the oldest of three daughters, and I grew up in a very traditional background. As I mentioned earlier, my parents were immigrants from Pakistan, and they instilled a lot of the values that they brought back from the 1970s to, San Francisco. And growing up, I was always taught to not to be the rattler, to, be an example for my sisters, to always do what's right, don't shame the family, get good grades, go to medical school, do all the things that, typically South Asian parents expect their children to do. And it was definitely, it had its challenges because I always wanted to please my parents. I always wanted to please others by, doing well in school, getting good grades, choosing the right major. Although I did not go into medical school, my parents did forgive me for that. But, I would say that my life growing up, I've always sort of lived it for others. And recently I've really come into my own skin and I've really started to embrace myself and accept myself for the way that I am. And, I'm reminded of a Coco Chanel quote, which is, beauty begins the moment you decide to be yourself. And for me, I finally feel like I'm at a point in my life where I am really deciding to be myself, my true authentic self. And I know that it's going to be a journey, that it's not going to happen overnight. But, this is a different phase of my life where I'm not living my life for others, but really living it for myself.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And what was that point in your life when you did realize that you didn't have to always live life for others, that you can go out there and be the person that you are today?
Well, I think for a lot of women, there's a lot of FOMO, which is fear of missing out. And, as someone who doesn't like to rock the boat, who likes to be well liked by a group of friends, being able to say no has always been a challenge for me. And recently, I've learned that success is not only just a list of accomplishments, but it's also the ability to say no and to be really careful about your time. And I used to have a lot of guilt, when I couldn't make a commitment, and I felt like I had to keep everyone happy. And I've realized in the last year, I've noticed a change in myself, because I realized that it's so important for me to take care of myself. If I don't take care of myself, then I can't take care of my family. I can't take care of my friends. I can't take care of everyone else that's in my world. And so, I've learned to say no. I've become more comfortable with saying no.
Awesome. And it's really hard too for especially, women in Asian cultures to say no, because we've been so programmed to say yes, 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 so that we don't, offend anyone or piss off that person or, have someone, be disappointed in us. And sometimes we have to realize that saying no is a good thing, right?
Absolutely.
Especially when it hurts being the person that you are, being the person that you want to be. So, after that, what's your life been like now?
It's definitely, I feel like I'm more in tune with my own physical being. And I also feel like I am feeling more at peace, because we live in a very busy world. We're constantly plugged into our phones. We have busy commutes. I'm sure, your listeners, especially if you live in a big metropolitan city, the traffic is always an issue. So I think for me, like, again, I don't feel like I'm at a point where I can completely say like I am totally at peace, but I've learned that by being able to say no to events, by being able to be more choosy, I feel a lot more relaxed and less stressed in my body. And, one other area that I'm really trying to improve is just getting more sleep. And again, that goes back to, we have such busy lives. I'm always reminded of Arianna Huffington and her mission to get people more sleep. That's something that I'm continuing to work on to gain more sleep, so that, that'll help me be mentally and physically stronger.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Aliya, for our listeners, they're tuning into your episode and they're in their own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
My one tip is to keep going, commit yourself. For me, one area that I really wanted to focus on in the last year, and it's been a journey, is to become a better public speaker. And I joined Toastmasters. I also joined another public speaking training workshop here in San Francisco. I found opportunities to put myself out there. And, that was one of the reasons why I started my podcast series as well, which, the other reason is to build a community of women where they can connect, share, and inspire with each other. And oftentimes, I think we give up too quickly. You are going to face setbacks. You are going to face failure. Just keep going. Put it in your head that you're going to do it. Believe in yourself and keep going.
Awesome. Well, those are some great tips, and thanks for sharing that. And Aliya, for our listeners who wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, or want to listen to your podcast, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Absolutely. So the link to my webpage is www.confessionsofsuccessfulasianwomen.com. And the podcast is also on iTunes, and there are currently 10 episodes available, and I launch a podcast every week, and you get to meet an amazing woman from an Asian background who's doing amazing things, and you'll get to learn more about her story.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Aliya, you can also head on over to thetowofselfconfidence.com and search for Aliya's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just really want to thank Aliya for taking the time to share her story and journey with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sheena, for having me.
It was an honor to have you on. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for connecting with us on the Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetowofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more.